Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Inflation Reduction Act Town Hall. My name is Angela Hsu, and I'm the Municipal Engagement Manager with the Illinois Environmental Council. First of all, thank you all to our amazing co-hosts, Blacks and Green, the offices of Senator Tammy Duckworth, Representative Sonya Harper, Representative Kim Du Buclet, and Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller. Before we begin, I do want to go over a little housekeeping. Attendees are automatically muted upon entry to the webinar. We have a moderated question and answer session following the presentations. And if you have a question for any of our presenters today, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you to my colleague Max for helping us moderate. Our informational town hall will share a lot of information, but please rest assured that a recording and the Q&A will be shared with you. And now I will be sharing a little bit of information about the Illinois Environmental Council. So since 1975, IEC has worked to safeguard Illinois, its people, plants, and animals, and the natural systems in which life depends by building power for people and the environment. We represent over 150 environmental organizations operating in Illinois, and we carry out our mission by advancing equitable public policies that create healthy environments across the state through collaboration, building power, and advocacy. We work across 6 different issue areas, including agriculture, conservation, energy, transportation, water, and zero waste. And again, we do this work through policy advocacy, through that coalition building and legislator education. So why are we gathered today to learn about the IRA? Well, that's because the Inflation Reduction Act is the largest investment in clean energy history and our nation has ever taken on climate change. This gives money directly to the people. These are once-in-a-generation federal investments, and they're projected to achieve up to 40% reduction in climate pollution by 2030. We're already seeing these positive impacts of climate-friendly projects across the country, creating hundreds of thousands of clean energy jobs. And we cannot talk about the IRA without first mentioning CEJA, the 2021 Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, the most equitable clean energy jobs bill of its kind in the nation. We'll learn today how CEJA laid the groundwork to make federal funding opportunities possible in Illinois. So let's take a look at some of the programs. This image is not comprehensive, but it does show a few of the buckets of funding that we'll be talking about today. So for example, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, under which we have the U.S. EPA's Solar for All program, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, or the CPRG, we have the Rural Energy for America program, and then we also have really great environmental and climate justice programs, under which we have community change grants. And then separate from these programs, we have various tax credits, reductions, rebates, and direct pay. So first, let's talk about the GGRF, or the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. So this financing reduces greenhouse gas emissions for communities, and it can be used to create state or city green banks. Green banks are important sources of low-cost capital for emerging clean tech sectors within the state. Under CEJA, the Green Bank in Illinois was created. The Illinois Finance Authority, or IFA, was authorized to establish the Illinois Climate Bank, allowing them to apply for IRA programs on behalf of the state. So within the GGRF is a $14 billion NCIF, a lot of acronyms, the National Clean Investment Fund competition. And so there was a nonprofit called the Coalition for Green Capital that was awarded $5 billion of this funding, and the Illinois Finance Authority was named as one of the sub-awardees. So this is really huge news that we received this year in April. The Illinois Finance Authority received $156 million from the U.S. EPA Solar for All program, and this will bring the benefits of solar energy to low-income and disadvantaged communities across the state. And it will actually expand Illinois Shines and the Illinois Solar for All program. So really exciting news there. Another one, this is one of my favorites. This is the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, or the CPRG. My friend and collaborator, Thomas Mosley, will talk a little bit about this as well. It helps states, local governments, and metropolitan statistical areas, or MSAs, implement policies that achieve climate pollution reduction. So states will have to go through the process of collaborating and compiling a PCAP, or Priority Climate Action Plan, which lays the groundwork for the phase of competitive implementation grants. And really great news, Illinois was actually awarded $430 million for the CPRG across the state. And we're also seeing some of this award at metropolitan statistical areas as well, such as in Chicago. Now, there are many credits and deductions under the IRA. For example, the Clean Energy Investment Credit provides a tax credit for investment to new facilities that generate clean electricity. And then on top of these several tax credit opportunities, we also have bonus credits that can stack called adders. So the low income communities bonus credit program provides a 10 or 20% increase to the investment tax credit for qualified solar and wind energy facilities. It provides job creation and prioritizes the benefits to underserved communities. And then we have the domestic content bonus tax credit, which applies to renewable energy facilities that are constructed with a minimum percentage of produced and manufactured components from the United States. So we're talking about domestic American-made content or manufacturing pieces. It provides a 10% bonus for facilities financed by these tax credits that comply with prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. So as you can see, we have that tax credit, and then we add on these adders. So you have the 30% clean electricity investment tax credit, you add these adders on, already there is half of your project that you can get these tax credits back. So this is really huge. Next, for municipalities and other eligible entities, we have elective pay, also known as direct pay. This means that government entities can, for the very first time, directly receive a payment equal to the full value of tax credits for building qualifying clean energy projects. You first go through a pre-filing registration process on the IRS website, and then you can claim and receive an elective payment by making an election on the annual tax return. So if you make an investment, you get the money. The funds are not competitive and it's not capped, which means that you can keep claiming these credits annually. And again, the benefit is that the funds are received directly from the IRS and not through local governments. So this is really huge. So if you're a nonprofit, if you're a local municipality, and you weren't eligible for these credits before, now you are. And you can actually use this direct pay for IRA's tax credits, including those investment tax credits or the electricity investment that we just talked about earlier. Next, we have home efficiency, electrification, and appliance rebates that are available to homeowners and renters. So whether you own a single family home, if you own a multifamily building, these are actually credits and rebates available to you for the cost of purchasing environmentally friendly appliances or home upgrades. So for example, in effect this year in 2024, the HEEHRA, or the High Efficiency Home Rebate Act, provides an upfront discount for heat pumps that cost up to $8,000. There's also the Improvement Home Credit 25C, up to $2,000 annually in tax credits to lower the cost of a heat pump installation by 30%. And what's more, the Illinois EPA, the state's energy office, is set to roll out the home energy rebates program in the first quarter of next year. So really exciting, that's coming very soon. And we also have some benefits available to local governments, nonprofits, and individuals who recently purchased electric vehicles or are looking to electrify their fleets. These are some of their programs. So for example, if you bought an American-made electric vehicle, whether it's new or used, starting in 2023, you can actually get up to a $7,500 tax credit back. And the last note that I'll leave you all with is the Climate Program Portal. So this was created as a really great resource to share federal funding updates. It was created for municipal decision makers and leaders, but anyone can make an account for free. It pulls together summary data, requests, and updates to update on the IRA and the bipartisan infrastructure law about what funding has come to Illinois so far. And let's say you want to get a project started. Well, the program portal actually has a project finance hub. You can go on there. You can find a directory for technical assistance. You can see resources, learn how to start, and go from there. And with that, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. And I will now pass it over to our friends and collaborators with the Blacks and Green organization.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Anika Wims, and I am here representing Big Justice TIC-TAC, which stands for Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center. So I always like to not assume that everyone knows exactly what that is. So in brief or short, TIC-TAC is literally a network of centers that provide technical assistance, training, support to communities and organizations with environmental justice concerns. What we do, this goes along providing information on current federal funding opportunities, helping to navigate which opportunities match the organization's needs. We offer guidance throughout the application process for grants, and our mission is to support community organizations with funding opportunities. And we're going to go over to a list of our partners. So our region, we are based out of Region 5. This includes Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, as well as Wisconsin. And as you can see, our list of partners are CNT, the Garfield Park Community Council, MTerra, the Green Umbrella Regional Climate Collaborative, UIC, as well as Environmental Health Watch. So what does Big Justice TikTok offer as far as our services? Our three main things are capacity building, grant seeking support, and collaborative partnering. I always like to say, and to kind of make it clear, we do not write the grants for anyone, but we do offer the support as everyone is going through their grant writing process. So as far as the capacity building, getting your paperwork together, you are getting ready to write the grant, right? So as you get ready to write the grant, you're assembling a portfolio of your organizational documents, financials, and program summaries. Don't panic. We are here to help you fill in what's missing. And that is usually the stage that most of the organizations are in. Many people come not knowing exactly where they are, what they should do, what they need. So this is a really big part in getting them ready for the grant writing process. The next step we offer is grant support / review. So this is grant writing experts, using our grant writing experts from leading organizations who will coach, mentor, and help you write your grant. Again, we do not write them for you in a self-guided classroom style or even through train the trainer curricula so that you can help others. And then the last one is collaborative partnering. Now, this is matched with municipalities. So take your organization to the next level with funding for infrastructure projects in energy, water, sewer, weatherization, broadband, roads, and bridges. Collaborative partnering opportunities we help curate. If there is any area that we are not taking or helping in, then we refer out to some of our partnering TikToks, which would mainly be Great Lakes TikToks. So that's kind of where we are. We make sure that we can help anyone. If we can't help you, we like to refer you to who can. So let's get further into the menu of services. For those who don't know exactly what capacity building is, for example. So state entity designation, applying for your 501c3, et cetera. There are a lot of organizations who are ready and they're doing the work, right? But they're not set up to receive the grant. So that goes into us helping the organizations get their paperwork together. We have organizational development support. Who's on your team? Do you have a board of trustees? What is in place and what is still needed to get the ball rolling, right? So we offer program design support, project management training, financial grant management training, a marketing plan development assistance, board development assistance, environmental analysis and remediation, as well as energy engineering services. When we get to the grant support, we have actually in-house a grant specialist who I believe is on the meeting right now. And everyone, feel free, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I have a bunch of my colleagues on today, and they are here to help and assist with any questions that you may have as I'm going through this presentation. I know a lot of times we try to wait till the end and we forget exactly what we're asking. So feel free, as we're going through these slides, just drop your questions in the chat and we'll have someone answer any questions you may have. So when we get to the grant support, we're helping search for funding, including EPA Grant Makers Fund, grant writing training, RFP narrative development, and grant draft and final proposal review and coaching. And then finally, your public / private collaborative partnering. That's community engagement training. What are you doing in the community? How are you getting the word out about your organization? Who knows about you? Are you trying to build your community platform? We offer help in that, assistance in developing legislative policies around environmental and energy justice issues, partnership engagement assistance with industry, large environmental organizations, and government leaders, training and community benefit agreements, and lastly, brownfield redevelopment consulting. I want to go to, there you go. So prepare to tap into trillions of funding. So things that we offer, monthly lunch and learns, get your paperwork square. So this is the early stage initiatives. We're building a strong foundation by assembling a paper and digital portfolio of your organizational documents, financials, and program summaries, filling in what's missing so that you guys don't have to panic. And we have skilled technical assistance providers that will help you complete this process and provide grant writing training that helps you identify potential sources of funds and begin writing with your own successful grants. So one of the main things that we find when it comes to the grant process, most people don't even know where to look. They don't know what grants their organization falls in line with. They don't know which grants they're eligible with. So we offer that assistance basically through that entire process so that you are not alone. I know when you start applying for grants, that can be a really scary situation, right? We're wondering, do we have the paperwork? When we hear about federal funding, especially when we hear about these things, that can get a little scary. And so we are here to make sure that you are not alone, that you don't feel all of that anxiety and pressure, and that you have the right information. A lot of times anxiety comes from not having the information. So that's where we come into play. We help do the research for you so that you don't feel like you're just kind of lost out there by yourself. And then the monthly matchmaker mixers, meet municipal partners. So this is advanced stage initiatives, direct pay reimbursements for capital projects in your community, low interest loans, and large infrastructure grants for energy, water, sewer, weatherization, broadband, roads, and bridges. Collaborations are curated virtually to create grant partnering opportunities between seasoned community-based organizations and aligned municipalities seeking funds, experts, and navigators to guide project implementation. Again, we like to stress you are not alone. So where can you get some more information? Invest.gov, which highlights state-by-state progress mobilized by the Investing in America agenda across private investments and public infrastructure. We also have build.gov, which is a detailed maps of progress, comprehensive guidebook, technical assistance guides, state fact sheets, open funding opportunities, workforce development guide, rural playbook, tribal playbook, and accelerating infrastructure. And I will have one of my colleagues will post a link in the chat to kind of give you guys a copy of the presentation so that you can, directly click the link to learn more information about this. And then we have cleanenergy.gov, which is information on IRA tax credits and rebates for families and direct pay for government entities. The Inflation Reduction Act guidebook of IRA programs, technical assistance guide, the IRA open funding opportunities, clean energy updates, clean energy tax provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act. And finally, where can you get more information and how can you sign up to talk to our navigators and go through the process? Fill out an intake form. We encourage everyone who is interested in technical assistance to go to the website on here or just kind of take a picture of the QR code where you can go directly to the intake form. Me and my team, a team of colleagues who are on here, we will be the first ones that you get to talk to and get to tell a little bit about your organization so that we can get you partnered up with the right partner to make sure that you are receiving everything that you need. So again, my name is Anika Williams. I am a representative of Big Justice TikTok. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat so that we can start answering them. It looks like it says the QR code has expired. That's interesting. We tested it I believe yesterday. But we'll send if you cannot click or I guess go through the QR code, make sure you just go to the website and there will be a tab for the TikTok team where you can just fill out the form right there. And so thank you again, Angela, for having me. I'm so excited to answer any questions that you guys may have. And I look forward to hearing the rest of the event.
Thank you so much for that incredible presentation. I love all these resources that you provided. They're so valuable. I love that you have these events that you're hosting to bring people together and learn more. Really, thank you for your impactful and very crucial work. And yeah, we already have some great questions in the chat and can't wait to address those as well. So thank you. And next, I'll pass the microphone over to Thomas Mosley with the Office of Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Thomas Mosley, and I'm the Suburban Outreach and Grants Coordinator in the Office of U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, specifically the Chicago office. My main issue areas are environment and energy, along with suburban and Collier counties, the Black and African American community, commerce, and also arts and humanities. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a presentation from the Environmental Protection Agency with basically a light overview of the different funding that is available for the different agencies, but then we're going to dive right into the EPA, the different programs that they have, how they're able to be accessed, and then anything that we can do at our office to help. So these are the AIR programs funded through the IRA. Now, as you can see, a majority of the funding comes from tax credits. Now, those mainly are from PTCs and ITCs. If you don't know what that stands for, PTC stands for Production Tax Credit, which is a credit for electricity generated by solar and other qualifying technology for the first 10 years. Now, if you were to say implement some solar panels into your home, for the first 10 years, you would receive a tax credit for having that, or a geothermal heat pump, something like that, where for the first 10 years, you would get a credit just for converting to clean energy. An ITC would be an investment tax credit, which is a dollar for dollar reduction in the amount of income tax that you would otherwise owe for your investment into clean energy. A bit about those, like the investment tax credit is basically the purchase. So say the implementation for the solar panels, and then also the cost of construction and everything that it would cost to put them into your home. You would basically get a reimbursement from the government when it was time for taxes in March. From there, there are other agencies that have funding. The USDA has funding for agricultural practices. The Department of Energy has tax credits for wind electricity expansion and the expansion of electricity transmission lines. The Department of Interior is focused on increase or decreasing drought and addressing it. And the DOC is focused on economic development. From there, you can also see the Department of Transportation is focused on zero emission public transportation. The U.S. Postal Service wants to convert its fleet to electric post trucks. And then housing and urban development is all about renewable energy for homes. Next slide, please. Now, the EPA, which is what we're about to dive into in the programs, they're tackling this from 4 different angles. The top down, the bottom up, which would be environmental justice, and then 2 sector-based of mobile and stationary. I'm going to talk about the top down first. The top down is the CPRG, which is basically plans for cities, states, but also smaller entities for efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. An example would be CMAP. CMAP had a climate action plan, and CMAP is the Chicago Metropolitan Planning Agency. Yeah, but they had a climate plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the Chicagoland area, which I'm not sure if it received funding, but it was a very well thought out plan that pretty much addressed all the different issues in our area and the Collier counties as well. For sector-based, for mobile and stationary, when we're talking about mobile, we're talking about heavy duty vehicles, but we're also talking about electrification, building out EV infrastructure and charging infrastructure as well. For stationary, we're talking about pollutants caused by manufacturing mainly with the methane emissions reduction program, and also just monitoring those different pollutants in specific areas. And then from the bottom up, we're talking about environmental justice. And that is EJ focused on repairing historically disadvantaged communities. And we're about to dive into the programs a little bit deeper, starting with the climate pollution reduction grant. Oh, and yeah, these are the 6 programs that account for 90%, 98% of the EPA funding. Now, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant is about $5 billion to support local greenhouse gas reduction strategies. It's a 2-stage program split up of the $5 billion. There's 4.6 of competitive implementation grants, along with 250 million of non-competitive planning grants. Now, this money is available for, I believe, the next 5 to 6 years. So it'll be there. And then most of the grants are always open. They have rolling periods. So it seems like there'll be a time where it's open for a fiscal year and then closes, but it'll always be open again as long as the money is available. And then a fun fact is the state of Illinois received over 430 million from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency through the Inflation Reduction Act. The next one is the Methane Emissions Reduction Program. Now, the IRA has 1.5 billion allocated to reduce methane emissions through financial assistance. Now, those aren't all grants. Some of them are rebates, contracts, loans, low interest loans, and then other activities like technical assistance. 700 million of the funding is allocated specifically for activities at low producing oil wells. Not really too much to deal with Illinois, but in areas in the South, like Texas, Oklahoma, they would be the ones that would, I wouldn't say receive a lot of that funding, but they would be more focused since a lot of the oil wells are down there. The use of funds can be included to prepare and submit greenhouse gas reports, monitoring methane emissions, and reducing methane and other greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide and ethylene oxide, which is very harmful for people in general, but also folks who are vulnerable with asthma and other respiratory issues. The main the methane programs at the bottom are methane monitoring, that's the CH4 one, wood heaters, which have a bad impact on local communities because they let off a lot of CO2. The air quality index, I don't know if you guys remember last summer, there was some wildfires up in Canada that greatly affected the air quality out here. You could see there was a smog in New York. It looked like the sky was orange and that it was burning. That greatly affects the air quality, not just for normal people, but people who are vulnerable, people who have asthma and other respiratory issues. And overall, I'd say in any health issue, if you're not able to have clean air, that is a major problem. So yeah, the air quality index monitoring program, as well as multi-pollutants to see what pollutants are exactly in the atmosphere and how to address them. And then fence lining, which is basically monitoring emissions at a property line of a manufacturing facility. Now, the transportation programs. The two main ones are the Clean Ports Program, which has over $3 billion invested to ensure the replacement of clean technology and equipment in the ports. Hopefully with the port strike, I mean, there's a lot of money that's available, but with the issue that's ongoing right now, hopefully we'll just be able to move forward and they'll be able to receive the money that they need to ensure the safety and health of workers, but also to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then the Clean Heavy Duty Vehicles Program is $1 billion to fund the conversion to electric and zero emission vehicles, including refuse haulers, which is really just a fancy word for garbage trucks, as well as local buses and delivery vehicles as well. Now with that, you'll see a lot of different, it's okay. You'll see a lot of different entities like in public transport, CTA and PACE, also at Metra. They're taking a lot of efforts to convert to zero emission vehicles and clean energy as well. The other IRA programs is the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which my colleague Angela brought up. It's a plethora of different programs that's made up basically to accelerate greenhouse gas emission or the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, providing capital for EV charging, infrastructure, empowering rural areas, and the installation of solar panels on a mass scale. And as you see below, the National Clean Investment Fund, the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator Competition, and the Solar for All program, all are under the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund with a lot, with a lot of money to go towards those different programs. A nice fact, in 2023, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District received an EJ grant for a brownfield restoration project in Little Village. The environmental justice grants are focused on providing grants for historically disadvantaged communities, areas like Westwood Lawn, areas like Little Village, areas like Waukegan up in north, just about 10 minutes south of Wisconsin. These areas have been historically disadvantaged. They normally have a high population of Black and brown people. And the EPA is working to address the different things that have gone on there, whether it was pollution, whether it was leaving, you know, a decommissioned power plant, whether it was still holding, yeah, whether it's a brownfield, which is basically an area that is considered to be like potentially cancer causing in that area that has a lot of residents. So with the EJ grants, people are able to address these issues, whether it's a government, um, entity like the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, or even different EJ organizations as well. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the federal assistance awarded to Illinois is pretty high. It's over $1 billion, and there's more on the way. 156 million for the Solar for All program, 15 million to go towards EV charging and infrastructure, 40 million for grid resilience grants, and then overall 430 million for climate pollution reduction grants. So there's a lot of good things going on in Illinois. We want to be the front leader. For trying to convert and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And I believe that we're headed in the right direction with all the different things that we're seeing, not just in the Chicagoland area, but throughout the entire state as well. Next slide, please. So our office can help. We're 100% committed to modernizing Illinois' infrastructure and taking steps toward the goals stated in the IRA. Basically, what we could do is provide a letter of support for a grant from a federal agency like the Environmental Protection Agency. Say you wanted to apply for a clean heavy duty vehicles grant, or say you wanted to apply for an EJ block grant. You would go to that website, or click the link that's below, and then you would request a letter of support. Basically, you would get a letter from the senator saying that she supports your project, in hopes that it gets past the entire process of everything. And then also, we have a resource guide and tips on grant writing in the link underneath the letter of support link. That will basically give you a few tips to what people are looking for, what the federal agencies want to see in the different grant applications that you may apply for. So our office is happy to help. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me directly at Thomas, that's THOMAS _Mosley, MOSLEY at duckworth.senate.gov. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. That was a really great presentation, and yeah, highlighting the statistics that you just gave, those numbers on this slide. Yeah, this is the most updated numbers, and it's just so exciting to see all this funding that's coming to the state. I think that's really excellent. All right, and without further ado, I will now pass the microphone over to Representative Sonya Harper. Representative, thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. In case we haven't met, my name is Sonya Harper, and I have the honor of representing the 6th House District in the Illinois General Assembly. And first off, I want to thank everyone on the call today for their amazing work in outreach, especially Senator Duckworth and her amazing work in Congress, and on the Inflation Reduction Act. As stated before, Illinois received over $430 million through the IEPA. And an example of some of those programs, I know we spoke a lot, but I'm just going to mention one or two. The REAP program, the Rural Energy for America program, helps farmers and rural small business owners install energy efficient improvements. 1.4 billion is available. And in total, and Illinois has requested over 104 million for 587 projects. And applications are still going on for that program, but we have so many more like it. As spoken to earlier, we got over 263 million in funding just to administer the home efficiency rebates and the home electrification and appliance rebates program. And that's not all. There are so many other programs available for communities and families to be able to take advantage of. Everything from Solar for All to clean vehicle tax credits, and of course, our neighborhood access and equity grants. I think that when implemented properly and funding making it to the places it really needs to go, this will undoubtedly have a lasting impact on the way our families access more environmentally friendly and cost-efficient energy. You know, it also helps us to build upon the success of and extend the work of CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act, which we passed here in Illinois, helping to provide even more opportunities, including jobs and workforce development. For the past several years or so, I have co-chaired the Environmental Justice Subcommittee as part of the House Energy and Environment Committee, working with my colleagues to find more ways to make sure that my district and others are not bearing the brunt of environmental concerns and health hazards, and also have a major part to play in the new green economy. And now, as chair of the Agriculture and Conservation Committee, protecting our land, our water, and environment is of the utmost importance if we want to be able to eliminate food deserts as well as produce good food and medicine for years to come. 75% of Illinois, our land is under agriculture cultivation, making farming far by our state's largest industry. But at the same time, many communities, just like mine, lack the same access as others to the fresh, healthy produce that comes from our abundant land. And we know this leads to nutritional and other health disparities that disproportionately impact Black and other minority families. I always say everyone deserves the right to access healthy, affordable food, no matter their zip code. And so that's why a major focus of my work, both becoming and since coming to the General Assembly, has been to identify and address the root causes of this unjust dynamic and craft policies to correct it. Healthy food access is also an economic and health justice issue because too often the existence of food deserts and the corresponding lack of access to healthy food is disproportionately linked to the ethno-social demographics of affected communities. I want to help to keep farmers competitive, prosperous, and secure, and that's a crucial part of our statewide policy agenda. So, for example, in the past 18 months, we've energetically pursued these goals. I've passed a Farm to Food Bank Program Act to route surplus fresh agricultural produce into the statewide emergency food distribution network. We've passed a law to protect gardening, guaranteeing that residents can grow food for non-commercial uses without interference, especially interference that could come from homeowners associations. We also passed the Local Food Infrastructure Act to give money to provide investment and give businesses a chance to be part of our local food distribution system. We also passed the Grocery Grant Program to make sure that food deserts can be identified and remedial actions taken. We even kickstarted our first Illinois Agricultural Equity Commission and created the Illinois Cannabis Equity Commission, as well as we are now doing our first ever farmer disparity study. So much more remains to be done as it relates to protecting our environment and ensuring our local healthy food access. And I'm so looking forward to more opportunities to bring these issues to the front and center. And so whether it's through commitment to our clean energy jobs through CEJA or programs like Illinois Solar for All that supports the development of solar energy in traditionally underserved populations, I'm proud to have played a leading role in building a path forward toward a brighter future for all Illinois families. Now, I don't have enough time to talk about all of the environmental justice and agriculture, food access issues I am working on. So if you're interested in learning more or joining my Food, Agriculture, and Environment Advisory Committee, where we work on these issues, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you guys. Have a great one.
Thank you so much, Representative, and thank you for being an environmental leader for championing equity and green agriculture. I love hearing all of the work that your office has done to be a champion for all of that. And yes, we see some great questions in the chat already, and we're really excited to address those next. Yes, thank you so much, Representative, for your time today. And I'm also very excited to pass the microphone over now to Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller. Thank you so much, Commissioner. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here with this panel. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Commissioner Donna Miller. I represent the South and Southwest suburbs. I always like to put in perspective the magnitude of Cook County, because Cook County is the second largest county in the country. So what happens on every level, whether it's environmental justice or healthcare, what have you, really makes a difference. So I appreciate this forum and really appreciate the Environmental Council for their focus on the Inflation Reduction Act. So I'm sure this has been stated many times over during this meeting, as well as other times that we've heard just from our own conversations and where we are in the environment right now. But focus on climate resiliency and environmental justice is one of the critical issues that we see in the having to contend with in the foreseeable future, whether we're just looking at the storm that just happened and things that might be coming across in the next several months. We really see the news every day and firsthand how here in Illinois and across the nation, we're dealing with these devastating effects of climate change and what it's having on our communities. And I also feel that, our young people, our youth are intimately focused on this as part of their everyday life. They can't help escape this. But we also know that infrastructure systems in the United States are in a period of significant disrepair and increasingly vulnerable to the effects of climate change because of the aging infrastructure. The new technologies that we're going to see come through, but it's complex and really highlighted by the increases in severe weather, which pose challenges to the resilience of these infrastructure systems. So this is more evident as in disadvantaged communities, which are hurt worst and first by flooding, extreme heat, extreme cold, and other results of climate change. On a small scale, we know that there was devastating flooding even in my district in the South suburbs as recent as last year, and any other storms since then have caused significant problems. For that reason, and many, many others, I have been a proponent of the Justice 40 initiative launched by the Biden-Harris administration, which is a whole of government effort to ensure that federal agencies work with state and local communities to deliver at least 40% of the overall benefits from the federal investments in the following categories. Those that we've already talked about: climate change, clean energy, energy efficiency, clean transit, affordable and sustainable housing, training and workforce development, remediation and reduction of legacy pollution, and the development of critical clean water and wastewater infrastructure. In order for this initiative to be successful, we need to ensure robust coordination between the federal government, the state, and the counties to implement projects at the local level. A Justice 40 community is defined by the administration as a disadvantaged community that is marginalized, underserved, and overburdened by pollution. So in Cook County, like I said, second largest county, I was able to introduce the Cook County Justice 40 Infrastructure Fund Initiative legislation. This passed unanimously back in November of 2022. It affirms that Cook County's commitment to furthering the principles of the Federal Justice 40 Initiative and seeking all available resources to do so by directing Cook County to advance climate justice by applying for federal grants made available by the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act to deliver at least 40% of these overall benefits from federal investments in climate and clean energy to disadvantaged communities. The legislation also directs the county to adhere to procurement policies that regulate equitable participation of minority and women business enterprise in the execution of these grants, and requires quarterly report from the budget director on grants applied for and received from the above mentioned federal acts. This is something we are closely monitoring here in Cook County and seeing where these funds are going to be distributed and which communities either applied and didn't get them or applied and did get them. Additionally, I was honored at the 2023 and 2024 annual National Association of Counties, that's our NACO meeting conference. I had a policy resolution that I sponsored that urges the federal government to work with county governments to implement the Justice 40 initiative by providing the technical assistance and coordination to maximize the fund opportunities to implement Justice 40 and similar environmental justice related projects, and that was approved. So at NACO, when we do have policy resolutions that get approved throughout the NACO organization itself, the idea is so that other counties don't have to implement their own resolution or figure out the legislation on their own. And we can all work together for all the counties across the country to make sure that we are focused on these initiatives from a national level. So Cook County has already allocated over $100 million in the ARPA funding, the American Rescue Plan Act funding, to support a clean environment for all and fight climate change with programs such as brownfield remediation grant program, lead hazard remediation, household hazardous waste facility, businesses reducing impact on the environment, the BRIGHT program, and that's a small business grant program, climate resiliency planning for community construction, and installation of EV charging stations and other initiatives like this. So the county is also pursuing additional funding for this once in a lifetime federal funding made available by the aforementioned federal acts to further these efforts. The Inflation Reduction Act included the largest investment in clean energy, environmental justice, and climate action ever. So these programs totaled over $118 billion in federal funding through the Inflation Reduction Act and will help ensure that at least 40% of the benefits they produce flow into disadvantaged communities in the United States, including programs aimed at reducing pollution, promoting clean energy and workforce development, restoring habitats, and helping communities adapt to the consequences of climate change, like the intense heat waves and wildfire seasons. So some of the grants the county is currently pursuing are the pathways to removing obstacles to housing. This was pro-housing from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The county is also partnering with CMAP on this project. Also building resilient infrastructure and communities from FEMA. The county is partnering with MWRD on this. Energy efficiency and conservation block grants, that program formula grant from the U.S. Department of Energy, and brownfield assessment grants from the EPA. The state of Illinois has also established, I'm sure we've heard a bit about that, a Justice 40 Oversight Committee that was established in 2023 to make findings and recommendations regarding the use of federal funds provided to the state to address environmental justice. In December of 2023, the Biden administration announced $600 million to 11 grant makers to fund thousands of environmental justice projects across the country. And it's under the purview of the EPA's Environmental Justice Thriving Communities Grant-Making Program. That was all made possible through IRA. This new grant program will make it easier for small community-based organizations to access federal environmental justice funding in response to community feedback about the need to reduce barriers to federal funds and improve efficiency of the award process to ensure communities that have long faced underinvestment can access the benefits of the largest climate investment in history. The grant makers will work in collaboration with the EPA's Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights to issue subgrants to community-based nonprofit organizations and other eligible organizations representing disadvantaged communities. Grant makers are expected to begin opening competitions and awarding subgrants by this summer. In the beginning of April 2024, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced its selections for $20 billion in grant awards under two competitions under the historic $27 billion Greenhouse Reduction Fund. That's the GGRF, which was created under the Inflation Reduction Act as part of the Biden Investing in America agenda and create a vehicle to finance sustainable climate future for generations to come. This first round of awardees has committed to deploy 70% of investments in historically underserved communities. The Biden administration also announced $7 billion in solar energy grants under the EPA's Solar for All program and set up the American Climate Corps, which is a workforce development program aimed at preparing young Americans for jobs in clean energy. Other recent Biden-Harris administration announcements of note are the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency $300 million in brownfield grants through President Biden's Investing in America agenda to rehabilitate and revitalize communities. The Department of Interior, DOI, announced $520 million to revitalize aging water infrastructure and strengthen drought resilience. And the White House Council of Environmental Quality announced the final rule to modernize environmental reviews, accelerate America's clean energy future, simplify the process to rebuild our nation's infrastructure, and strengthen public engagement. It's going to take all of us working at every level of government and within private sector to ensure this once-of-a-lifetime funding opportunity bears its fruit. I hosted town halls in my district along with other focuses that were here throughout the county to create awareness of these programs. Also took this on a national level, as I mentioned, at NACO, but also NABCO, which is National Association of Black County Officials, had a panel discussion on that at the last conference, year before last, just so that we are making sure that everyone who fits into these different categories has at least the mechanism and the technical assistance to apply for the grant funding that's available. I know that Cook County and the state of Illinois and the IEC are ready to make sure that we are on the forefront of making many of these programs not only sustainable, but equitable across multiple areas, but also that we're on the forefront of making it happen. So thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate the information that's being shared and look forward to what we can all do to work together more consistently in the future.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Miller. That was incredible information, very valuable. And you mentioned the Justice 40 program. Thank you so much for bringing that home to Cook County. That is such an important and crucial part of the Inflation Reduction Act and Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Environmental Justice Program. And yeah, thank you very much. So with that, we have a little time now for some Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for us? Max, do we see any questions in the chat?
I see a question about links for the programs that Representative Harper mentioned.
Oh, that's a great question. So yes, following our webinar today, we will be sending an email with links to some programs that we talked about with the recording link as well as the Q&A. So yes, we can get that information to you. And I also saw, thank you so much to Blacks and Green for answering the question about where the programming is. The answer was Woodland Park is where the main office is taking place. Oh, sorry, I see a hand up. Yes.
Hi, thank you for your time. And yes, thank you for all of the representatives that did give us our perspective on how this policy is affecting the state of Illinois. It is greatly appreciated. My question to all of the panelists would be, I understand that most of this funding is going to be going directly to non-for-profits and for local government entities to oversight how the funding will be utilized. I would just like to know, will there be more direct contact for small business owners and farmers to have access to this funding in a more fast-paced type of way, right? So once it goes to the non-for-profit, in my opinion, there tends to be a lack of accountability when it comes to the programs that are created for the funding for small business owners and farmers? So will there be any vessels in which the small business owner and farmer could get direct contact with this funding? So what I'm noticing a lot of, and before I got in contact with Representative Sonya Harper's office, I did not know that Illinois was 70% agriculture and industry, right? I'm from the city of Chicago. So most of our food has been funneled to us, through trucking, through commerce, and we don't really have any, we're having a growing sector now of urban farming. But a lot of the funding seems to be going directly towards the rural areas, which it should, right? But at the same time, what about Chicago? Because we would like to start feeding ourselves.
Yes, I do believe the USDA has programs that go directly to farmers and small businesses. I think I found one just while 1 second, I'm putting it in the chat. But the discrimination financial assistance program looks like it's specifically going to farmers, ranchers, uh, and it's an assistance program for farmers to help them produce, and that is directly to that's not through any nonprofit or anything. That would be directly to the farmer. But we're happy to find more grants for you. I'll drop my email in the chat as well. Feel free to email me, and then I can try and create like a sheet for you for any grants that go directly to farmers and small business owners.
Thank you, Thomas. And I just want to emphasize that I do know about that program, but that program is if you were discriminated against prior to 2001, if I'm not mistaken. As someone who has had contact with the local farm agency coming from the city of Chicago, having to go to Will County, that was kind of a doozy right there going there. There still needs to be a cultural conversation that is happening for those of us who are trying to navigate the USDA programs from the city life. So thank you, Thomas. I do appreciate that. And if you do have any of those vessels in which the federal grant money will be given directly to farmers in the city of Chicago, in the city life, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely happy to help out.
And I was just going to add that that is the role of the technical advisors who are out there, part of the Justice 40 initiative. So I think that reaching out to the program administrators, each one is a different, and maybe that's something that the senator's office can help with, but each department under the federal government has different grants assigned or looking to assign different grants. So it's my understanding that also there are technical advisors assigned to those different departments.
Thank you. I did not know that. I appreciate that information, ma'am.
Any other questions? If not, thank you all so much for tuning in today, for sharing your time with us to learn about the Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you so much to all of our amazing co-hosts and presenters today. Thank you to Blacks and Green. Thank you to the Office of Senator Tammy Duckworth, to the Office of Representative Kimberly Du Buclet, the Office of Representative Sonya Harper, and of course to Commissioner Donna Miller for all being environmental leaders and championing this work. This is all very important information. You have our contact information. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.